round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, round, round, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around.
A secret that has been described by automobile experts as a national treasure. A car collection recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest privately held car collection in the world. Harold G. LeMay, a well-known name in the local garbage business, has gifted a piece of history as his legacy to the people he served for over 37 years, his collection of classic automobiles. But where did this classic car collection begin?
Well, I believe he's always loved cars. And he talked about when he was a teenager, he got a frame and a motor and built him an old Model T. That was his first driving car. And so from that love of mechanics, he went on to love cars.
Harold LeMay was a businessman and a car collector. But exactly who was Harold LeMay?
Well, Harold, number one, was a real hard-working person. He loved to work. He loved his work. And then when he started collecting cars in the 60s, he pursued that as on top of his work. So he usually worked 6 to 14 hours a day, loved every minute of it.
He was always upbeat, very energetic, and he was just a fun man to know. He loved to tell jokes. He loved the youth, and that was really nice too. He was just an all-around man. People just can't believe that one man has been able to put this together.
Bill Harrah died, and his collection just went everywhere, except for about 150 cars. That was a wonderful collection, and I must have seen it 24 times, and I don't know how many times Harold saw it. Harold loved that collection, and to see it just disappear, it was just a little more than he could stand, and so he started collecting cars, not really with the feeling of having the most, but just to preserve a history and to be able to teach people how a car looked and the difference when they actually had chrome or brass. Well, there weren't as many tours. Although we've always had tours. I've lived around cars now since the mid-60s, so, you know, it's different, but a little of the same. It's pretty terrific to have more people see the vehicles and see the collection and the camaraderie that's among the volunteers. You know, the volunteers make up almost all that's done in the collection. I mean, they're the ones that keep them clean. They're the ones that do the tours.
After Harold's collection outgrew the space they have at the family home in Parkland, Harold and Nancy made the faithful decision to purchase the Marymount Military Academy in Spanaway, Washington, which today houses most of the collection. Thousands have seen the collection at the Marymount location, but why do they come?
People come to the museum for any number of reasons. This morning I led a tour of 2 gentlemen. They were looking for cars out of the 40s and 50s and early 60s, cars that they may have owned when they were young, or cars that their families owned, or cars that the guy down the street owned that they remembered. Other people will come just because they heard this museum exists and they wanted to see what was here.
I think people come to the museum because of the nostalgia. We've got a lot of information about how the automobile evolved over the years. They want to see Grandma or Grandpa's car, they want to see Dad's car, they want to see their first car. They also can't imagine this many cars in one place. And they often come to see that because it has been documented as the largest individual collection of cars in the world.
It's one of the major draws of the museum. It's number 7 of 51 that were made. It's reported to be one of the most original Tuckers still in existence. A lot of people will come to the museum to see the Tucker, or hoping to see the Tucker, and it's on display. I only volunteer 1 day a week, and so the people I see, there might be a day where I lead a tour of 3 or 4 or 5 people. There might be other days where I would lead a tour of 25 or 35 people. So it varies. Last year, during calendar 2007, the museum had about 7,200 people come through the museum. Now, I only led a very small portion of those tours.
The future is bright with plans for a new museum located in downtown Tacoma near the Tacoma Dome, with groundbreaking planned for the spring of 2008.
You know, I think that the museum is going to be terrific. I mean, you'll never have this ambiance, this feeling, this setting. If you go down to the house, it's a totally different atmosphere, and they work well together. I think the selection of cars are good. There's pretty good cross selection, and so I think he'd be pleased with it.